Hey guys, today we have two never before seen and heard of updates. One pretty big update, well, small update, but big for one game, and a preview of what's to come for another. Okay, let's get started. Okay, first up, an update for Here Comes the Pain, but it might not be the one you're expecting. Let's have a look. Now I know what you're thinking. Scott, this looks exactly like the retail. And you're right, it does. But listen.
I'll tell you, Cole, this is what the WWE is all about. A lot of the wrestlers in the back grumbled when they heard Goldberg was coming to the WWE, and they should. He's a badass, no doubt.
Whether you like Jericho or not, I've got to say that I'm not crazy about him. You got to admit, he's one of the top superstars in the company.
Goldberg's got him up, Cole. Jackhammer.
Goldberg's not the fanciest or the most technical superstar in the locker room, but he's without a doubt one of the toughest.
I'll tell you, Cole, I wouldn't want to meet these teams in a dark alley. Wait a minute. Hit him in a dark alley with them.
Big fisherman suplex by Jazz. This could be the beginning of the end.
There's that camel clutch, Cole. Unless your name's Hogan, you're probably not going to break out.
Capacity crowd is certainly getting its money's worth tonight. Oh my God, stunner! Austin hits the stunner. I hope this isn't the last time we see these superstars face off.
Oh, stunner! That came out of nowhere! Cole, this guy's so good in the ring, but yet so weird in the back. So, I don't know, maybe I don't have a theory.
Now Venus with a huge money shot right into the pin. I think he's got him. These fans certainly seem to feel that The Rock going to change the heart after going to Hollywood.
Yes, that's right, you heard correctly. This build of Smackdown Here Comes the Pain has commentary, and it is insane. It's active in every match type, in every arena, and in every mode. It's used sparingly through season mode. The commentary itself is not like that used in the SmackDown vs. Raw series, and instead follows the same style that was used in SmackDown Shut Your Mouth. So lines are a bit more sporadic. Jim Ross and the King are noticeably absent, with Cole and Taz being the only commentary team available, regardless of the brand you're on. What's interesting about this build is that it is dated after the US and European releases. It is an Asia region build, dated January 2004, weeks before the Japanese and Asia region release. Now initially I thought, oh, was it going to be an extra for the Asian market release? And then possibly because the game had already sold gangbusters in Europe and the US, the commentary audio would be used in the Platinum Hits version, sort of as a Greatest Hits edition, kind of like what other franchises had done to include extras at a later date. But the more I thought about it, I've come to somewhat of an educated guess that that wasn't the case. For starters, if we take a look at the original press release that THQ put out, they clearly specify that both announced teams would be a part of the game. JR and King would be doing commentary for the Raw brand, and Michael Cole and Taz would be doing commentary for the SmackDown brand. And this was reiterated again during the UK press event a few weeks later. And I remember during the summer of '03, when we got our press preview builds, There was no sign of commentary or creator belts, which was the other thing they mentioned, which clearly didn't see the light of day till SmackDown vs. Raw. I do remember several UK outlets, as well as several online US publications, reach out to THQ to inquire about commentary, and the response at that point was, it's coming. It wasn't until about a month before release that we knew commentary wasn't going to make the game, and as we know, shipped in October and November respectively without it. And interestingly enough, when I dig through the files of this build, all the dates are the same as the US release build, except for the commentary files, which all the dates on those audio files are after the US and European releases, which all but confirms Yuke's must have got this audio late. And as to why it wasn't used in the Japanese and Asia releases, as well as a US and European Greatest Hits edition, could be down to these factors. Initially, they had been touting that both commentary teams would be present, as well as big improvements to the commentary system as a whole. And as I mentioned earlier, the way commentary is currently implemented is exactly the same as Smackdown Shut Your Mouth. Along with the fact that only Cole and Taz are present, and season mode is relatively silent, even more so than Smackdown Shut Your Mouth. And where commentary is present in season, it probably would take you out of the action, as if you were playing the Raw season and Cole and Taz aren't the announce team, but JR and King are still present on screen, it could be a little messy. Unless you go the full route of Smackdown Shut Your Mouth and you remove the Jim Ross and King models and replace them with Cole and Taz in both arenas, which is doable, but I suppose you'd have to change the season mode script as well, which likely would be a lot of hassle, especially seeing as it appears that they already received the commentary files late as it is. I wonder if they ever received the dialogue from JR and King, or if it was even recorded. What's even more interesting here is that while the commentary is similar to Smackdown Shut Your Mouth in how it is spaced out, there's a lot more superstar-specific lines for when you're in a match, rather than generic chit-chat from Cole and Taz. The generic lines usually happen at the start of the match, and only a few of them are peppered out throughout the course of the match, with the majority of the lines spoken revolving around the superstars competing in the match. And there is a ton of dialogue for each wrestler, not just the big name stars. Literally everyone on the roster has the same amount of lines. My guess here is that they were originally going to carry this over to SmackDown vs. Raw, with the thought process being that only a handful of the roster of SmackDown Here Comes the Pain wouldn't make SmackDown vs. Raw, and were likely taken aback when the majority of that roster didn't make the cut for SmackDown vs. Raw due to firings, injuries, and walkouts. Which makes me wonder, did that make them change the way they did commentary? And while I think the commentary in SmackDown vs. Raw all the way up to SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 is absolutely fine, especially in SmackDown vs. Raw 2006, there's no denying it is a lot more generic, a lot more chit-chat between JR and the King or Cole and Taz, and referring to everyone as superstars rather than the individuals that are actually present in the ring. And could this be the reason why? You have hundreds of lines pertaining to unique superstars, yet if a superstar gets released, or worst case scenario, like in 2004, a whole bunch of people get released, or walk out rather, then those lines are worthless. Now I'll close this bit of the video off by saying that I did try to capture as much unique commentary as possible by using divas, mid-carders and main eventers in the footage I showed. But most of the time, yes, I do realize I'm doing finishes because that's the easiest way to get commentary to trigger without me filming sort of a whole match. So I decided, well, what I'll do instead of sitting down trying to cut footage and get as much like that, I will stream the entire thing later on. So that way it'll be easier to just get a better idea of how the commentary works. It's pretty much exactly like Smackdown Shut Your Mouth. It's an improved Smackdown Shut Your Mouth commentary system, really. The lines are better. But the way they're presented is pretty much the same as Smackdown Shut Your Mouth. So that's it for Smackdown Here Comes the Pain for now. Until then, let's move on to Smackdown vs. Raw. Now, annoyingly, I did get this build after the Definitive Edition and after I made Rebuilding Smackdown vs. Raw, which, I didn't like the episode as it is. And now with this, there's just so much more to cover. I'm gonna have to redo that episode because I just can't in good faith leave that on there and be like, that was the episode when all this exists now. So with that said, here's a preview of what I've found thus far and what will be included in version 2. And straight off the bat, you'll notice that even more superstars are wearing different attires to what they are in the official release. While yes, I already covered Benjamin and Haas in their World's Greatest Tag Team attires, you now also have Garrison Cade in an attire matching Mark Jindrak, reflecting the time they were a tag team. The Diva models look a lot better in their original attires, several of them wearing different attires, but most notably is Molly Holly, sporting her shorter hair as a result of a hair versus hair match with Victoria at WrestleMania 20. Even better is the official Rikishi is still in the game, which is great. And while an extra character and new attires are great, it's only the tip of the iceberg, as this early on in development cycle, the Legends roster isn't finalized. But if we go into create a moveset, we see several things. Firstly, there are a lot more individual slots for Titantrons and theme music, which makes my job a lot easier, as I hacked in some people's Titantrons and theme music in version 1 of the Definitive Edition. I won't even have to now, as most of that stuff is already present. But the most notable thing here is that the Legends roster is completely different to what we got in the final release. There is a slot for Cactus Jack, complete with Titantron and theme music, however the entrance motion isn't actually done yet. As well as a slot for Mick Foley, who is using the entrance motion that ended up being Mankind's entrance motion, as well as his Titantron and theme music. And this makes sense, as Mick Foley wrestled at WrestleMania 20 against Evolution with The Rock, and Cactus Jack being present because of the brilliant No Holds Barred match with Randy Orton at Backlash 2004. Other notable differences is there is a placeholder for Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, complete with theme music a la Ultimo Dragon, but with nothing else being finished. There is an unused slot under Charlie Haas that is question marked out, but I wonder if that would have just been moved down, with Haas and Cactus moving down and Brutus Beefcake being the last slot under B. Another interesting thing here is that the British Bulldog is not called the British Bulldog in this build. He is simply Davey Boy Smith. No Titantron or theme music are present yet. However, there is a unfinished entrance motion when you preview his entrance moves of somebody repeatedly walking up the steel steps. There are a few more tidbits here. Firstly, the licensed music hasn't been implemented yet. So instead, the entire soundtrack is just a port of the Here Comes the Pain soundtrack. Therefore, the jingles when you're navigating through the menu are different. They're not the same as Here Comes the Pain, they're just louder and slightly different than the final ones used in the final build of SmackDown vs. Raw. Secondly, when you're going to create a stable, all the new creates and entrance motions for tag teams and trios aren't there yet. So they're just ports of the SmackDown Here Comes the Pain entrances. Yes, they are redone because that animation data doesn't convert 1-to-1, but you just have Booker T and Goldust, the Dudley Boys, and that's a face version of the Dudley Boys entrance, and the 3 generic ones. That's it. No trios actually work. You just get a black screen and it'll cut right back to the menu. And when we go into create a moveset, there are a ton of moves that have yet to be removed, which is absolutely awesome, because as you know, I was going to slave away and manually re-add loads of moves that were taken out between SmackDown Here Comes the Pain and SmackDown vs. Raw. But no need to do that right now, at least not for everything, because most of the moves are there and intact, which is great. Now, I haven't had as much time with this build as I've had with Here Comes the Pains, so there might be a few more cool things to discover that can be put in version 2. Oh, I almost forgot. Brock Lesnar's here. Up next, you guys, is Rebuilding SmackDown Episode 7, SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit that like button, hit subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified anytime I upload a new video. If you can support me on Patreon, please do at patreon.com/ScottJay. All previous rewards are still available till the second week of July, so get in on those if you want. Up next will be the final part of the Q&A video that was made, in April now, and then I added to it in May, and then again in June. I might take a few more questions, so if you want to, leave them in the comments below. And until next time, guys, stay home, stay safe, and take care.